redevelopment. And the kids grew up here when we still had the American Room, hunting Easter eggs. So I mean, the American Club's been a big part of our life, and it's also where Hiro and I met. So I'm a longtime Japan person. I moved back to the U.S. in December of 2016, like a week after meeting Hiro here for lunch. We'll talk about more how we got together. I think you know what we actually did after we met. But I may be the member of the club here, but Hiro is really the star of the show and the captain. So over to him for his self-introduction.
Thank you for having us today as a guest speaker. I'm so happy. As he mentioned, we had a lunch meeting here, 2016 December. That was the first time I met and started of this project. And I live currently living in San Diego, and I come back to Japan 5 or 6 times a year as a motivational speaker. And I am totally blind. If you close your eyes, that's me. And even if you close your eyes, you can see the light a little bit, but I cannot see light. So I sometimes forgot to turn on the cabin light. And even while my watch it got dark, and the dog told me, or I asked him, our sailing light is on because I cannot see. That's me. And I was born in Kyushu Island, Amakusa Island, so I grew up with ocean, so surrounded the ocean. So I went fishing, and jumping from the land into the water, and I enjoyed swimming a lot. So I knew I loved the ocean, and I was thinking, what's beyond this, ocean from my childhood, period. And I was born as a partially sighted, but I could see a little. Enough so that I can ride a bicycle. I could ride a bicycle, and I could play baseball. But when I was 13 years old, I started losing my sight gradually. So it was hard. First, I couldn't catch the ball while we were playing baseball, and the team member was, telling me, you want other team to win because I didn't catch the ball. I couldn't hit the ball. So I was, but I couldn't tell. No, I'm losing my sight because I didn't want to accept my blindness. And after that, while I was riding a bicycle, I started bumping into things. And but my brother knew, I still want to ride a bicycle, and I was having a hard time to accept my blindness. So he told me, you can still ride a bike, with me. So he was holding my shoulder with one hand and pushing or pulling. So I can tell, if he pushes, I have to turn a little bit left. And he pulls me, I understand I have to turn a little bit right. That's the way, the guide for blind, marathon or marathon does. So I will talk, if we have time later, about that. I did the full Ironman. I finished 2 years ago, 4K swim and 180K bike plus full marathon. That was hardest, physically. But this sailing challenge was hardest mentally,
That was because he was with me. Otherwise, he would have been fine.
But when I keep losing my sight, and I want you to go back, when you go back to home today, try to put your toothpaste on the toothbrush without sight and closing your eyes. It's hard. So when I couldn't do that, I put the toothpaste on my finger. I thought, that's it. I don't want to live anymore. So because I thought I couldn't live myself independently, I might have to ask any help, anything to do anything, for other help. So I don't want to ask people, all the time. So meaningless, useless, I thought. So I tried to commit suicide and try to jump off from the bridge to the ocean. So that time, ocean was very scary. So, but I got a message. I have to live positively. There is meaning on it, being blind. Focus on if you live positively. A lot of people learn from that. I got the message that. So my uncle who died, had died 5 years ago, 5 years before, sent a message to me during that. I was asleep. So I started living positively, but the same, I cannot put the toothpaste or I spill the hot, tea or miso soup. But I thought I cannot die, I have to. And after that, once I get a train, try many times, try and error, that's fine. But I try again. I started being able to do it. So I thought, yes, this is the way. Even you cannot do that, but try again. And I learned from that. Failure can be failure because it is, and they stopped doing that. I learned that. And I tried many different, started challenging, and I tried selling, I started selling, and I thought, as a challenger, I want to sell across the biggest ocean in the world, the Pacific Ocean. So I started saying, I want to do, and 6 years ago, I was introduced to one of the famous newscaster in Japan, Mr. Shimbo, and we tried, and we left Fukushima, Japan, and I talked about that later if we have time. But so on the sixth day, we had a collision with a whale, and the boat started sinking. And we transferred because we had a big crack and seawater was started coming in. So we transferred ourselves into life raft and floating around 11 hours with typhoon was chasing at that time. So 15-foot waves and 30 knots wind. And but luckily we transferred ourselves into life raft and we prepared the emergency bags, which contains the handy GPS and satellite phone, so that we can giving location data to the shore crew, so that Japanese self-defense force came to rescue us. So after that, again, came down. My life was down, and through media and SNS or internet message. I was told why you try that and stupid challenge. You are blind. You have to stay home, or some hardest messages were like that. So and I didn't want to see the even ocean, but because of my heart started beating fast, PTSD. But again, I thought, I have been doing a motivational speech and telling people, never give up. Once even you fell down, you have to stand up and start walking. But at that time, I didn't want to do that. But I want to live, be honest to what I had been, telling people. So I started thinking, there is a meaning on it, the whale hit our boat. And I found future success, to make future success 100 times, 1,000 times bigger. This incident happened. So I have to keep going. So I started telling, people, I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to re-challenge sailing across the Pacific. and I was introduced to Doug, and people say I am crazy because I'm blind. As I asked you, close your eyes, it's dark, and I'm doing not only bay sailing but offshore, sailing. But Doug, I always tease Doug, Doug, you are much more crazy than I am because he committed, to sail with me. And he's a beginning sailor, but he told me this is I decided to do with him. I have a sight, but I don't have a sailing skill. I don't have any sight, but I have a sailing school. We can help in each other. So our dream will come true. That's 3 or 4 people approached me to make this, to ask me, do you want the sail across the Pacific with me again? And I told them no, but Doug, yes, I told him yes. And we had a lunch meeting here at the American Club. So he is gonna tell about that.
Well, I mean, and I'll tell a very short story of the version, and the person who introduced us is actually sitting here. And now that we survived, he doesn't object to being named. This pair who introduced us, and basically, I don't know if you're well aware of Battelle. It's a charity, Tokyo English Lifeline. They have an auction. One of the things that was being auctioned was a day on a sailing boat, and I was on Pair's sailing boat, and it was very nice, laying on the bow, doing nothing on a beautiful day, sailing across the Chiba and getting lunch. And on the way back, I said, yeah, I really like this. I could do this. And so I kept bugging Pair about sailing more. And he said, well, I have a friend who's really interested in doing some more sailing. Why don't you meet him? So Hiro and I met here at TAC for lunch. And basically over the course of a lunch, as Hiro was saying, it concluded with me saying, it's like, look, I can see you can sail, let's do this. And it was 4 months later that we actually bought this boat, and 6 months later, at the beginning of 2017, when I actually started to learn to sail. Which is how, if you've seen our website, voyageofinspiration.com, it's the blind sailor and the seeing eye Doug. So that's, and we do have some video from the website that we would like to show. Some of it's going to cover what he's already talked about, but it has some visuals in there, and here we go.
60 days at sea, 5,006
in the project, and unfortunately the forecast for days of no wind being the hardest actually came to be true at the beginning of the voyage. But so just recapping, so we met in December 2016 and decided, let's do this. Well, if you're going to do it, obviously you need a boat, and we thought about getting a boat maybe here and trying from Japan again. Realized that is not the easiest way to actually make that crossing, and also it's a lot harder for us to train. And fortunately, we found a boat in April of 2017, which was the right boat. So I just want to show a few videos of the boat itself and some of our training, and then we'll talk more about how we plan the voyage. So this is the boat. This is the boat after it had been bottom painted and checked and did a lot of stuff. It was the last time it was out of the water, just as it was going back before our voyage began. And the reason I wanted to show this to you is a lot of times people don't see what the whole boat is. You can see it has a full keel, not the traditional kind of fin type of keel that you're looking for, which means it's very stable. it also means the propellers and the rudder is protected. You can't see it in the video at the moment, but this is a cutter, which means it has two sails in the front. And that middle sail, if you hit heavy wind, can be useful to help you continue to sail. So we were lucky that we found this boat in San Diego, and the previous owner took just really good care of it. And obviously the boat took really good care of us in our 2 months across the Pacific. This one's actually in Japanese, but this is where we're actually sailing offshore of San Diego near San Clemente Island and Catalina, and practicing wing on wing, which is a sail where the wind's coming from behind the boat.
はい、皆さんこんにちは。オーバーナイトトレーニングの2日目です。今ですね、このメインセールとこっちの、ジュブセール、前のセールをですね、逆方向に展開してます。これを、日本語では観音開きと言います。この状態で多くの今回の旅のほとんどをですね、この形で、走らせます。今、先ほどですと9ノットの風で4.5 ノットのボートスピードが出ました。10ノット以上になるともっとスピードが上がると思います。
This is me saying the same thing, but not as well in English.
Is it the first time you did it, Doug?
Yes, actually, that was actually the first time we were sailing.
The alarm keeps going off for no real reason. We have a very light wind, 3.9 at boat speed knots. We need 4.4, what our estimate of 60 days is based on, but expecting a lot more wind to be found. And then we have our sailing sensei sitting up here on the deck, looking pretty. Anything to say to your supporters?
Yes, this is most of the case we're sailing with trade wind. So we are practicing this pole up and down and put on, take it off, and different position. So we have been learning. Good training.
And so you may be wondering, how it is that you plan a voyage like this. Why San Diego? Why Onohama and not San Diego's sister Yokohama? And I'll let Hiro speak to that. And then why February? Why not June or July? And I'll talk a little bit about that. But why San Diego? Why Onohama?
Why San Diego? I live there. And again, thankfully, Doug, we couldn't find a boat there in San Diego, but Doug bought the boat there, and he lived here while we met here. But he didn't wanna. He didn't mind coming to San Diego all the way to have a training. So I'm very appreciate that. And for me, for my convenience, he put a boat there and leave the boat there, and he came to for training. So we left there because I can give my hug to my wife and my daughter there before leaving. That's why we left there. And why Fukushima? 6 years ago, when the 60 years project started. The symbol is based on the Yomiuri TV station. So Yomiuri is in Osaka, so they wanted to leave Osaka for the project. But I asked them, I want to leave Fukushima because after tsunami, that earthquake and tsunami, and every time I went out sailing and coming when we came back, was coming into the marina, I felt, oh, it was wonderful day sailing. Ocean is great, but on the other hand, I started hurting, painful, because I started thinking about the tsunami victims. For them, the tsunami wiped off their family members, and they were almost wiped over. So they hate ocean and fear. So I wanted them to go sailing again, and I wanted them to experience ocean is great again. So I asked them Yomiuri, and they accepted my my proposal and my idea. And after that, I wanted to give. I heard that the high school there in Iwaki, Kaisei High School and Junior Sailing Club lost their boats, and they don't have any boats to use. So I wanted to donate 2 dinghies, small sailboat. So I started thinking running a charity marathon and do charity for that. And I met Mr. Otsuka, who used to be a pitcher for Padres, San Diego team, and he heard about my passion, and he said I can be your guide. So that helped a lot for charity. So we could charity enough so that we could donate 2 dinghies for 20 to tsunami victim.
Yeah, and I was, at first saying, well, Yokohama, the sister city, it makes a good story, whatever, but going back to his original departure point on his first voyage made a lot of sense. And also I was thinking very simply, well, it looks closer to me, and if I get to Yokohama, I'm closer to my family and I can give them a hug. And then realizing how much traffic, boat traffic, there is even around Onohama, going to Yokohama was definitely not a good idea. So it was great that we headed for Onohama, and even better that we made it. So then people said, well, why February? It seems like it's cold or whatever. And so when you're planning a voyage like this, you start out with what they call pilot charts. And pilot charts are basically monthly compilations of the average of data, right? Wind speed, wind direction, wave heights, weather, whatever. This is the one for March. If you want to see it more closely later, it's actually on the wall over there. So I guess the good news was one part of this was actually right, and that's like the temperature was awesome. We had great temperature and humidity. The wind and the waves were a different story. You can see, but you can see here these waves, these circles, and basically they indicate. I feel like a rock star up here with this. But these arrows indicate the percentage of the time the wind is coming from that direction. These feathers on the arrows is the wind speed. Well, here's San Diego. So we look at this and say, hey, we can sail out with the wind behind us or on our beam. That's pretty much true 2/3 of the time. It's got a good speed. And then the current is with us, these green arrows, the current is with us. We just go out, we get down here to the trades, we go west, we get, if I back out, you'll see it. We get to 158, just a little east of Saipan, and we'll pop up Japan, it'll be great. See, they don't, like a Kuruguru Zushi, right? We'll just jump on the conveyor belt. It sounded good. And based on the data on the pilot charts, we decided to go. The key thing was, not only was the weather and the wind in our favor, but it was really important to us not to be in the water when there's hurricanes in this part of the Pacific or typhoons in that part of the Pacific. And basically that leaves you January, February, March, and April. There's only like 4 months out of the year that you can actually be out there and effectively be guaranteed not having that kind of storm. Thank you. So based on that, I put on here on Google Earth our planned track, and it wasn't planned in detail because it's kind of pointless, right? But it was a rough image, and that's the yellow line, and then also our actual track, which is the blue line with the red dots. As you can see, it's kind of the same, but there's some big differences, and I'll let Hiro talk about the weather there. All I'll point out is it's a long way. I mean, even backed out as far as this is, you can barely see the beginning point and end point. The actual distance was 8,000 US miles, 13,000 kilometers, a third of the circumference of the Earth. Yeah, it was a long way. So, what happened to our plan? I mean, so what kind of weather did we have in the beginning, the middle, and the end that gave us the track that we ended up with?
Okay. And when we left one day, it was a nice wind. NHK was making a documentary. We can announce later, but so they chart. Now?
So do you want to see the departure? It was made for TV, and it was like probably the best 2 hours of the whole voyage. And as soon as the cameras turned around, the wind stopped.
So you can watch that part.
How do I make this big? I guess I have to click here. What was going on?
Yeah, this time about.
Thank you for coming today. I'm surrounded by wonderful people.
No Photoshop, that's what.
and that was unusual, wind, nice wind. In San Diego, it's rare case. That was 20 knots, 10 meter wind. So usually just 12 knots, 10 knots, but because NHK brought the wind, I always tease it, the producer. And after they left, wind stopped, and the hard part, our struggle started. And for 7 days, almost 10 days, low wind and no wind. People think, a storm or big wind might be hard, and but as a sailor, big wind you can do something you can do, make the sail smaller and change the sail from head sail to middle sail, and so on. But no wind, you can do nothing. So that was hard. That is hard, in a way. Rigging, making a noise with waves. Waves pushes the boat, and the ropes and booms making a sound. So we cannot sleep. Even middle of the night, it's too noisy, and so on. And we had to go south, more south than we expected. We planned latitude 18.5. But this year, El Nino. So the trade wind, we are supposed to get the stable trade wind from behind, so that we can go zoom. But trade wind, since the trade wind was not stable, we had to go more south to latitude 13. We went down that far south. And we heard the trade wind even, getting lower after longitude 170 east. So we had to decide, we have to go south more to latitude 9 or start heading up. So our plan, we started heading north to Fukushima at longitude 150 E. So we started coming north. We decided to start going north from at longitude 170, 20 degrees earlier. So when we turned and started north earlier, it felt good. Oh, we are going directly now, so we don't need to go west, anymore. So we are going starting north, and we are happy, and shorter coast that way. So we are happy, but but we had a big, low pressure at the moment, and we decided not to go straight because it's gonna be more than 20, almost might have been 50 foot wind, 25 meter. So we decided to come down to south. So going south, sailing south means you have to go away from your goal, Fukushima. So mentally that was very hard. Might be the hardest time of the voyage. Almost 5 days, 3 days, 5 days, we will get there and have sushi and take a shower. But we had to start going south. And once we started going south, wind picked up, and boats, we started sailing faster, going away. So it was very hard. And after that, we turned around because low pressure, we let it go, and we started going north, and toward Fukushima, another low pressure came, and very hard, and current, we are pushed back, or we slow it down because of the current. So it was hard that time, and we landed on April 20th. So it was very, very hard. The closer we get to Japan, the harder we got, the time we had. So we expected we are getting 4 or 5 low pressure or cold front, but we end up around 10. That,
Yeah, so having said all that, we did plan 60 days, and we did it in 54, and we did it without any injury, no sunburn, no upset stomach, no nothing. So we didn't do too badly. Just to
he lost 15K. Hero. I lost just 5K. You know how much he worked on. You know, I worked just 1/4.
but just to recap, you know, it reminds me of those financial disclosures, right? Past performance is no guarantee of it. We have 100 years of reported history, right, and data about the wind and the waves and stuff like that, and we kind of got it, but it was very different, right? And it just goes to show you that you don't know what you're gonna get. And so here, when we planned to go southwest, there was low pressure systems coming out of Hawaii up here, and there was a stationary high. In the middle of a stationary high, there ain't no wind, so we were just pinned, and we had to keep going south. Which, you know, that experience reminded me of why it's called the Pacific, because Magellan, when he came across it, he found it very peaceful, and he had good wind. And so for the first, like, almost a third of the trip, a quarter of the trip, I could have water skied across it.
With no wind.
That's how flat it was. And I actually want to show you a video, because we did, as we were going down the coast of Baja, have some company. But the point of this is dolphins are cute. The other point is you'll see how absolutely calm it was. Come from all over, right? And to play in the bow wave. And they're cute, but like I said, you see how absolutely calm it is.
But you're still playing with it before now.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the engine's off.
Oh, did
I was trying to get Hiro to like kind of lasso some of these ones, see if they could pull us or something, but that didn't work either. But they are cute.
Do you think they come because they're bored?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you see them coming from everywhere. I mean, they're expending energy. They have better things to do. They just want to come and play. I don't. Yeah, and it happened several times throughout the trip, and it's a well-reported phenomenon. People really don't have an explanation other than they want to just come and play. It's interesting, something new. But you can see just how absolutely common it is. Okay. So that's what was happening in this stretch, and we kept being promised, go south, young man, go south, you'll find your trade winds. First it was like, you know, get past 20 degrees, you'll find 18, 15, keep going. I mean, so we eventually got here, and then you can see this little up and down, and it was the same thing. The weather router said, well, you know, sail up towards the big island, but you know, there's a cold front coming through, and you don't want to get in the wind shadow. And we just talk between ourselves. I would basically read the weather forecast every day, check the chart plotters thing, explain to Hiro, and then we decide what to do. And I said, well, the really good wind is still down south. Why are we going to get close to Hawaii and deal with this wind shadow and these funky waves around the islands? So let's just, you know, keep going south. So we actually ignored our weather guy and went going south, and finally found, you know, these mythical trade winds that you saw in the training video where we're sailing wing on wing. It's like that. It's nice and sunny and good. And then, as Hiro mentioned before, we wanted to go further west because the pilot charts, historical average would tell you, wind will push you there, it'd be beautiful to 150, but the weather forecast basically said the winds are going to be really light. And then once you get there, you only have a choice of going north. You don't have a lot of flexibility, so we decided to head up and find our 10 low pressure systems and cold fronts and finally get there. But so this is a video of the man in action. I think this is past a while. We had a lot of nice days like this where beautiful skies, reasonable seas and wind. So here's Hero in action. I'm enjoying sitting comfortably in the cockpit.
As you see, I'm not using cane or a guide dog. I'm using seeing eye dog. People ask, do you use a cane? Well, boat is the safest place because there is a lifeline. I can follow the lifeline, and the big wind I can just crawl.
He knows the boat as well as or better than I do. I mean,
I make a mental image. So first several times I hit my forehead with a shroud wire and started bleeding. But once I make a mental image, I can relax.
Released.
So which line is which, I can feel.
Okay. Okay.
Diameter, how flexible, how rough, smooth sensation.
and we're here on a broad reach with good wind and nice waves and just kind of enjoying life. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, so basically we were lazy. We were sailing wing on wing and left the pole out and changed to broad reach. But that meant the jib sheet was rubbing on the staysail. So he went forward to pull it down to stop it sawing through our sail.
Do you feel by hearing?
Hearing too, yeah. Or feeling the sun's directions or feel the direction which part, wind is hitting.
And instruments that enunciate the course.
iPhone,
Yeah, the
iPhone
iPhone.
apps, voice compass, and both speed and pulse.
I'll stop it right there for a sec. Just to point out, as you saw, and I do the same thing, and anyone with any sense does it as well. When you get out of the cockpit, you connect to the safety line, they call it jack line with the tether. Before you get back in, you're connected. So you're always connected to the boat because if you go over, that's it. I mean, you're food for somebody out there. We're gonna kind of move things forward because we did want to leave, decent amount of time for questions and stuff. So we're gonna keep moving, but that in some ways when we were in that westward track, that was kind of the average day. So we were pretty happy, and we thought we were going to be able to keep doing that for 10 more days, but our wind ran out and we headed north. I'm going to kind of fast forward the trip then to our arrival and show you some clips of that. And beyond our expectations, this voyage got international attention. We were getting clips from people from Israel and the like, BBC, ABC, Fox and stuff. So the clip I want to show you is just something that BBC had done. So
A Japanese man has become the first blind person to sail a yacht across the Pacific Ocean. Mitsuhiro Iamoto set off on his non-stop voyage from San Diego on the Californian coast at the end of February. He was accompanied by a sighted American sailor, Doug Smith, who gave him information from visual sources while Mr. Iamoto steered the vessel and managed the sail. Almost 2 months on, the sailor was greeted by an ecstatic crowd in the Japanese port of Iwaki in Japan earlier today.
And so that was the voyage, and again, it was 7,000 nautical miles, 8,000 U.S. miles, 13,000 kilometers, 54 days. And what did you hope to accomplish, and what do you think we did accomplish with the voyage, Captain?
Me. Yeah. I learned a lot. I think I learned the voyage is like a short version of life, up and down, up and down. That was, but even down, you cannot stop. I don't want you to stop. When I lost my sight, I was the low part of my life. I didn't want to go out, but once I took my first step out from my house, it was very scary. It was car traffic noise and scared me. So I was having a hard time. But I did that first step. That's why I started challenging more and more things. So if I hadn't stepped one step, my life would be different. And the second time I was low part is when I had a collision with a whale, and we got rescued and we got to Atsugi base. A lot of media people were there. Even I am blind, but I always tell people, even totally blind, almost saw the light. That many people came to make a flash when we got there during nighttime. So it was hard, but I thinking, and I found the meaning of the incident. I found the meaning. This incident happened to make my future successful 100 times, 1,000 times bigger. So I'm so lucky I stood up again and took one step out and keep working. And so I want to tell people never give up, and don't limit yourself. Limitation is just in your brain. And second one is very important to meet the people I call dream supporter. If I hadn't met Doug, my dream would be a dream forever. So very important to find people to support my dream. So I learned those things. Thank you, Don.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I think one of the lessons for me, and it's the same lesson you have in life, is like whatever you expect, it'll be different. I mean, we had the pilot charts. We had every even if it's even a third different, it would still be what we needed, and it wasn't that, right? So whatever you expect, it'll be different, and whatever it is today, it's going to be different tomorrow. So it's important just to be ready for that and not to get too high as we were coming out of San Diego Bay. It's 7.5 knots, no TAC, right? Oh, we're going to be in Tokyo in 2 weeks, right? Or get too low when there's absolutely no wind and the forecast says there'll be none, because as soon as you get down, the wind picks up again. I mean, it's trying to have that balance is important. And certainly out there, you have to have patience, because that's the only way you're going to get there. And that was the other lesson, right? How can you really make it? How are you going to get there? Well, you plan as best you can, and then you have to set off, and then just deal with each day as it comes. And if you keep trying, you eventually get there. Did you want to talk about what's behind you? You know, the handkerchief.
Handkerchief. There is a handkerchief, yellow handkerchief here, and that handkerchief is designed by Himeka-chan, who died with the tsunami, and she was good at drawing and designing, and now before she died, he designed and this one, and now Iwaki City is making this handkerchief so that supporting tsunami victims. So that one is. So we put this handkerchief on our boat in front of the chart plotter in the navigation system, and actual that handkerchief we gave to Himeka-chan's family, and he gave this one back. So that's thanking tsunami victims all voyage, and I hope more and more, and I hope more and more tsunami victims go out sailing on the boat, donate it, and I want them to experience ocean is still great. And when we got there, we sailed with high school kids and junior yacht club members, and we had a great time. So I was so happy we landed. Not only we landed, but also I experienced. I knew they are using the two dinghies and to experience ocean is still great.
Great, and we have 20 minutes, so we wanted to leave that for questions. Hiro will deal with the hard ones, and I'll take the easy ones.
Any question is good.
Yes.
It's a huge leap of faith to go from not knowing how to sail in 2017 to 2 months of travel across the Pacific in 2019. What was your inspiration?
So the reason I'm zooming in, so
You can see, I downloaded from the chart plotter the data from the boat, and you see all the blue squiggles next to San Diego. That was our training. So it's proof that we trained, but this is the extent of our training before. No, that was. Anyway, so that was the extent of our training. It's a good question. So part of it is maybe a false sense of confidence, but you meet somebody like I met Hiro, and within an hour, say if I'm going to do this with somebody, I'm going to do it with him, right? Because I saw the video the last time they hit the whale and how he responded and what he did. He's actually the one who, in my view, kind of saved the two of them by his actions. So I said, if I'm going to go with somebody, I want to go with someone like him. And then the other is, a lot of this is planning, and that's something I'm good at, right? You have to have the right boat, you have to equip it in the right way, you have to go at the right time of year, and you have to go with the right person. And like everything in life, probably the preparation is 80% and execution is 20%. I was also really lucky that on the East Coast, where I am, near Washington, D.C., is the Maryland School of Sailing, which is very well known. And just by coincidence, they sail a twin of my boat, an Island Pack of 40. It's a year older, so 97. But so I was able to not only learn sailing in a very compressed period of time, but I was also sailing on my own boat. So that gave me the confidence to go. And like I said, we always have the debate. Everyone said, you're crazy to go with a blind guy. And I always said, well, he's crazy to go with me. Anyway.
And he had a training, so the 2 years, long. He spent a lot of time, and he flew into San Diego. And
Yeah, we
went
spent a
out,
lot of time on
yeah,
boat together in
and,
San Diego.
Last time I and Shimbo, actually two of us sailed when we left Fukushima. Other than that, one trainers or media people, so always some other people. But this time, from first time we left the dock in San Diego, just two of us. So I have more confidence we'll be able to accomplish this. And Doug's skills, and he picked up skills quick, and he started telling me, do that. So he is more captain like that during the voyage. Yeah.
Bring me my beer. Any other questions? There's got to be more questions. Yes.
Did you have any human contact between San Diego and Fukushima?
No. There was one. I called a number of boats just to say, hey, you do see me, right? And then one boat called us to say, hey, we see you. What are you doing in the middle Pacific in a 40-foot sailboat? Yeah, so there was no, and we had email, but very small email, text. We could call, and we did have phone conversations, but there wasn't any interaction with people. No.
What would you do differently?
What would we do differently?
Take a plane?
Stopping at Hawaii. My time, and get out of the plane.
But seriously, I think maybe the one thing, not the one thing, but one of the things I would do differently, we debated bringing what you call an asymmetrical spinnaker. It's basically a sail that's designed for sailing kind of in light winds with the wind basically behind you. And we had a big head sail, the sail in the front, 130 general, and we said, we don't need it. But I think had we had that, we would have gotten a lot of use out of it because we did have the light air and stuff like that. So maybe in retrospect, having that sail would have been helpful. Obviously, we did without it, but maybe that. Hi, Dozo.
So thank you. This is such an inspirational story. Thank you so much. Hiro, you said you were a sailor. Did you learn to sail before you lost your eyesight, or you learned?
No, after I lost my sight. So that's some people say. some people say what? Just in Bay, I understand. Just sitting on with some sighted people does as a guest. But what? You can go to bow of the boat and come back? But in offshore, so it was, the biggest wind, it tipped 45 degrees and 5 meters, so up and to the bottom 10 meters. So you are standing on the 4th floor looking down that high. So like 45 degrees like that, and bam, bam, 10 meters. So you cannot walk inside with 2 foot. So you have to hold all the way. You have to hold with 2 hands too. So that was hard, but with the training, you can do it. Even we had a trouble. The rope, caught something. So we had to go to the bow. So I went there and take the rope out and come back. So again, training. Training gives you perfect and more than you think. Not only being blind, but yourself. You might be limiting yourself, so limitation is just in your brain. So whatever you want to do, you can try to do.
I have a question. The 11 hours you spent in the life raft.
Yeah.
In your last trip across the Pacific. Were you the person that was, because you were blind, you were able to be calm, more collected than the person when you're with?
Yeah, that's my job. When we had a collision, I felt that was a whale. So and after the we got rescued, we had a press conference and a lot of questions we had. One of the reporter asked me, what you thought you bumped into? I answered, well, and there is on YouTube still. But to retrieve the SD card data, it took a few days later. So nobody believed me. The first possibility was a container from the container ship. That often happens. Or things wiped off by tsunami. So they came back. The reporter came back to ask me, why did you know from the beginning? And that's me. And I was calmed down so that that time too, 15-foot waves and 30 knots wind. So to transfer into life raft, that was hard, right? Wow. So I was calm, so I sit down on the back of the boat and I put the foot on the life raft and I counted several times and I counted and watching the timing, and I didn't stand up, I just crawled in, otherwise you lose your balance. So I was calm like that, and I heard the water coming in, so I woke up and I took floorboard out and I stepped in my finger and there you go. There is a water, so I woke him up. So like that. My calm myself. That's my advanced or what they call that.
Advanced,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And a good example of that is like the last night before we arrived. I've been up like 4 or 5 days. I mean, even for me who doesn't sleep, I had really been like up for 4 or 5 days, right? There's a lot of traffic. The wind was dead against us, the waves were against us, the current was against us. There's tons of traffic, and I was just like, when sun rose and we're dealing with all this stuff, and then Yomiuri Television is saying, well, can you be at this spot at 8:01? So we'll have a helicopter. I'm like, right? Anyway, and so I'm talking to, and obviously, given his past voyage and stuff like that, kind of making it on time for this live program is a lot more important than it is to him than it is to me. I said, I'm just, and it's like, I'm just like, we're not gonna make it. I can't. And he said, and I said, yeah, but I expect the wind to clock around, to the east by noon, right? Based on the weather forecast. And so he says, if we can't make it, we can't make it. We'll just wait for the winds to come around. But, what do you think we can do here? I said, well, if we sail really close to shore, right, with the wind, and then come back out again, we can get our TAC into the, the marina where we need to be. I think that could work. And he said, okay, what about the depth? I said, oh, yeah, depth. Well, we've been like, 54 days in 1,000 feet of water. You're not thinking about the depth, right? It doesn't matter. Obviously, when you get close to shore, it's like, yeah, well, okay, let me get on my, yeah, okay, it looks good. And then he says, we got the depth finder on. Of course, I had turned it off for the voice because you don't need it. It's eating electricity. Okay, turn it on. But again, it's that, that calm, that kind of sense of, and it was the same thing, like I said, when I met him, as I mentioned before, it's like, how did you decide that quickly to do with that person? And why would you do it with that person? It again is that kind of calm, collected approach to things. So, those are, yes, we have, yeah.
It's okay?
Yeah.
So what did you prepare for the case Mama Ball of Mr. Smith? So hero on board, and the Smith in the water. Now how to rescue Mr. Smith?
Yeah, there is none.
There's none.
No.
But we.
I mean, there are things we can do, right? But there's not gonna. Those are.
But we always put the lifeline tether on, so.
Just in case.
So it.
So the short answer is there's not much
No,
that could be
no.
done. What he would do is he would, as much as possible, quickly depower the sails,
Right.
try to get the boat to stop,
Right.
and he would hit his emergency beacon, right? Because there's no way, it's just not going to happen, right? So we're calling in, you know, and then hopefully, you know, if we're lucky, somehow I can get over to the boat. Probably not, but hopefully, you know, with the EPIRB going off, the boat stays close enough, and I have my own vest that in a couple of days, somebody, cargo vessel, whatever, you know, gets there and can get me out. But yeah, I mean the reality. Well, the water is actually quite warm where we are. It's like 22 degrees, but you know.
We prepared everything as a equipment, but as you mentioned, if you know, he overboard and me on the boat, we got training how to slow the boat, but I cannot wait to go back to him.
Right. And even with me trying to get Hiro out of the water, the reality is, you know, you feel like you're seeing the whole world when you're sailing in the boat, right? You're seeing the ends of the earth. No, you're sailing like 10 miles, right? Which is the visibility at that height above the water. And you realize, like, if something goes into the water, right, how quickly it gets behind you. So, I mean, it's so easy to lose somebody, even with a full crew of people. I mean, so the trick is you just have to make sure, you know, you wear your tether, then you just don't go over, because, yeah.
It never happened. It never happened.
Yeah. So.
We always have a tether and both two ends tether, so always put the, even going over the rope, clip one and clip out.
Yeah.
You never practice it in San Diego.
So what's your next adventure?
That's all. Some people, a lot of people ask, but now I'm resting. And again, you know, I always want to do challenge, so my comes up, waiting for the, you know, my feeling. So, yeah. Doug is telling me, you know, why don't you go back with other people? And leave the boat on San Diego, so I will come over there.
Well, you know, you can only survive once with me, right? It's not like I don't want to go. I just don't think. You know.
Wrong trip.
We have the same feeling about that.
So, pretty shortly, I think we're supposed to wrap up at 8:30. So we've got, you know, a few more minutes. I just want to point out. So these are actually the signs that we had on the boat. For promoting the charities that were talked about. The handkerchief, he explained, back in the back are some newspaper articles and some pictures I took, and then kind of did some funky Photoshop stuff to them. They're back there, and then the pilot chart, if you want to take a quick look at those before you head out. And then my wife, who's sitting here in the front, was instrumental in kind of coordinating everything that we did. She translated the blog, she uploaded all the pictures in the blog, she dealt with customs and immigration, coordinated among all the people who were involved, and there were a lot of people involved. And she reminded me to say two things, one of which I forgot. One is thevoyageofinspiration.com. If you have not gone to the website, please go there, because that's where like all the blog posts are and the pictures. The other is NHK. The documentary is being aired on BS1 on June 30th at 10 o'clock at night. I think that's a Sunday. So if you have a chance to watch that, please do so. And then in terms of donations, I think we're at 20,000, something like that, but 20,000 of donation. So anyway, is that like third parties? Uchi nuki de. right?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, so we have 10,000 of donations from wonderful people like you. We have $20,000 of matching donations. And so matching donations, you know, for every dollar gets donated. So this team put up the first 10,000. So basically, you know, those donations will be matched by our donation. And then a friend of mine, his company matched our matching donations. He had another 10,000. And I definitely want him to actually have to donate that 10,000. So we need another 10,000 of donations from third parties so he can match it for a total of 40,000. So, you know, please, if you feel like donating, please do so. If you want to donate again, wonderful. If you think people might find this story interesting and they don't know about it, you know, forward to them the website. Because we would like to get to 40,000 of donations and certainly make sure that a guy that we know who has a really big pocket actually comes out of pocket his 10,000 of matching, and he's happy to do so. So we just need to get that in. Okay, so I got the okay sign. It's good. I'm okay.
And where's the money being donated to?
To these 4 charities. Yeah, so one's Challenge Athlete Foundation's helping athletes with disabilities to participate. In Hiro's case, they actually bought a tandem bike that he could use for the triathlon and marathons. Himalayan Cataract Foundation, bit of a misnomer, it's now global, but basically cataracts is the world's leading cause of preventable blindness. No one's blind in the developed world because of it. They are in the less developed world because they can't afford it. It's really important, a lot of leverage to that, because you know, you restore that person's sight, and then a lot of times young kids, especially girls that are helping them, can then go to school. So wonderful. SafeCast is an organization, and we're running out of time, but just I gotta show this to you. Is after the Fukushima, the nuclear incident, no one had guide counters, no one had information, so this group got together and said, we'll make our own. And you know, people can drive around and measure it so we can share the information together. And now it's gone global. And basically, it's one of the world's best well-known now citizen science projects. And basically, fundamentally is, you know, we don't have to trust government or even our own intuition, what we expect. We can just measure it and share it. So we actually had one of the monitors that my wife put together on the boat, and this is our track. And of course, we expected to measure nothing unusual, and that's what we got. And people said, well, if you didn't expect to find anything, why'd you measure it? Well, what we expect and what's there are different. I mean, the whole point of this project is you don't have to rely on government information or what your friend's telling you. We can all measure ourselves and share. So that's SafeCast. And then Carter Foundation's trachoma. It's a leading cause of blindness in Africa caused by a parasite. So trying to eradicate that. So those are the 4 charities. And I'm definitely getting the feeling we're hitting our limit, so we will let you go. We'll turn it back. I guess sort of closing comments.
Thank you so much, Hiro-san. Thank you so much. This was a wonderful presentation. I assume everyone really enjoyed it as much as I did. On behalf of CCEC, once more, this lecture series is sort of a new thing for us. So if you enjoyed it, let us know about it, and also let other people know about it. We're going to start up some more probably after the summer, because not much happens in the summer at TAC. And so when you see them, tell everyone about them so we can do more. And thank you so much for being here.